All right, so are you ready for this? We're heading to Antarctica today for a deep dive.
Ooh, Antarctica.
Not just for the penguins and the ice, though.
Right.
Our listener was really captivated by some of the wilder theories
Oh, yeah.
surrounding the continent.
hmm
The idea of a connection to biblical lore.
Okay.
Think fallen angels and Nephilim hidden beneath the ice.
That's a fascinating place to start for sure.
Yeah.
Recent events in Antarctica have definitely fueled speculation, and this theory,
Yeah.
while unconventional, it does tap into some pretty age-old questions
It really does.
about what might be hidden in the Earth's most remote corners.
So we're going to be digging into excerpts from Antarctica and the Fallen Angels today,
Okay.
which lays out this whole theory.
All
Now,
right.
you're already familiar with the Nephilim,
Yeah.
those giants mentioned in Genesis.
Wow.
But the Book of Enoch,
Right.
which was discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls,
Yeah.
gives us a much more detailed and, let's be honest, a much more unsettling account of their origins.
It really does, and that's part of what makes this theory so captivating.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of Enoch isn't part of the official biblical canon, but its discovery
Right.
definitely added fuel to the fire for those who believe it holds crucial insights
It did.
into these mysterious beings.
So let's talk about the Watchers.
Okay.
The Book of Enoch describes them as these angels sent to watch over humanity after the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of doing their angelic duty, they kind of went rogue.
Yes, went rogue, might be putting it mildly.
Huh.
They rebelled against God, took human wives,
Wow.
and, according to the Book of Enoch, their offspring were the Nephilim.
Okay, so we have angels rebelling, fathering giants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sensing this isn't going to end well for anyone.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Well, things get pretty apocalyptic. The world descends into violence and depravity, with humans learning forbidden arts from the Watchers.
Oh, no.
Imagine a world where weapons, astrology, and enchantments are suddenly introduced. It wasn't a peaceful time.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So did anyone try to stop this?
Uh,
Or was humanity just left to fend for itself?
God sent the archangels to intervene.
Okay.
This wasn't just a slap on the wrist.
Oh, wow.
We're talking divine intervention on a grand scale.
Wow.
Each archangel had a specific role to play.
It sounds like something straight out of an action movie.
Uh-huh.
Tell me more about these archangels and what they did.
Well, Uriel was the messenger.
Okay.
He was tasked with warning Noah about the impending flood and instructing him to build the ark.
Right.
Then we have Raphael,
Okay.
who was given the daunting task of capturing and imprisoning the leader of the Watchers.
Wow.
Imagine the power it took to bind an angel and cast him into eternal darkness.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Were there any other notable archangels involved?
Oh, yes. Gabriel was sent to sow discord among the Nephilim, turning them against each other.
Oh, wow.
And Michael, well, he had the unenviable job of rounding up and imprisoning the remaining Watchers.
Wow, talk about a divine cleanup crew.
I know, right?
But here's where I get a little lost.
Okay.
How does Antarctica,
Mm-hmm.
this vast frozen continent,
Right.
fit into this whole biblical narrative?
Yeah.
It's not exactly next door to the Garden of Eden.
That's the crux of this theory.
Yeah.
And it hinges on the idea that the flood wasn't just a local event, but a catastrophic global deluge
Okay.
that reshaped the entire planet.
So they're suggesting this flood is responsible for the thick ice sheet that covers Antarctica today.
Precisely. The theory posits that the flood caused rapid freezing in Antarctica, flash freezing the continent,
Wow.
and potentially trapping the Nephilim and maybe even the imprisoned Watchers beneath the ice.
Okay, so now we have Antarctica as this giant icy prison for fallen angels and their offspring. I can see why this theory has captured people's imaginations.
It definitely plays into our fascination with the unknown.
Yeah.
And it raises some interesting questions, especially considering the recent uptick in activity in Antarctica.
That's what initially piqued your interest, right?
Yeah.
These strange expeditions and the increased military presence,
Mm-hmm.
the rumors of hidden structures beneath the ice. Are they all connected to this theory in some way?
It's hard to say for sure,
Yeah,
but the timing is certainly intriguing.
it is.
Let's dive into some specific passages from the Book of Enoch that these researchers point to as evidence.
Oh,
Maybe we can unravel this connection together.
let's do it.
One passage that stands out describes the Watchers being bound like in the depths of the earth
Okay.
and beneath the stony places.
Mm,
It's not a huge leap to connect those descriptions to a place like Antarctica,
right.
a continent literally buried under ice and rock.
But wouldn't depths of the Earth a pretty common metaphor in ancient texts?
Oh, absolutely.
Couldn't it refer to any number of hidden or underground places?
That's a valid point.
Yeah,
It's all about interpretation.
right.
But those who support this theory see Antarctica's isolation and the extreme conditions as fitting the description of a prison for beings cast out of heaven.
Okay.
It's almost as if the continent itself was designed to keep something locked away.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It does tap into that primal fear of something ancient and powerful being hidden from view.
Right.
So besides these passages from the Book of Enoch,
Yeah.
what other evidence do they use to support this theory?
They also lean heavily on the geological evidence for a catastrophic global flood,
Okay.
the kind described in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They argue that a flood of that magnitude would have had the power to reshape continents,
Right.
create massive ice sheets like the one in Antarctica,
Oh.
and potentially trap anything or anyone in its path.
So the flood becomes both the mechanism for imprisonment and the explanation for the Antarctic environment we see today.
Exactly.
That's quite a theory.
It is.
But is there any scientific backing for a global flood on that scale?
It's a point of contention for sure.
Yeah.
Mainstream science generally agrees that Antarctica was once much warmer and more hospitable,
Oh, really?
with fossil evidence of forests, animals, even dinosaurs.
Wow.
But the current thinking is that a massive asteroid impact
Okay.
or some other natural event
Mm-hmm.
caused a rapid climate shift,
Mm-hmm.
leading to the formation of the ice sheet.
So while there's agreement that something dramatic happened,
Yeah.
a global flood isn't necessarily the prevailing explanation.
Right?
It seems like there's room for different interpretations depending on your perspective.
Absolutely.
What about the recent activity in Antarctica that you mentioned? Is there any evidence that supports this theory specifically?
It's a bit of a puzzle.
Okay.
We know there's been an increase in scientific research and exploration,
Right.
driven in part by concerns about climate change and the melting ice.
Makes sense.
And then there's the interest in Antarctica's potential resources.
Yeah,
Minerals, energy, you name it.
that all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the more clandestine stuff?
Okay.
Those rumors of secret military bases,
Right.
hidden structures, even whispers of alien technology.
Oh, wow.
Is there any truth to that?
Antarctica is subject to the Antarctic Treaty, which bans military activity and promotes international cooperation for scientific purposes.
Right.
But it's a vast and largely unexplored continent.
Yeah.
So it's not unreasonable to think there might be some undisclosed activities happening.
So some level of secrecy wouldn't be surprising given the unique geopolitical dynamics at play.
Right.
But does any of this point to something connected to the fallen angels or the Nephilim?
That's where we enter the realm of speculation.
Okay.
There's a lot of conjecture online, but very little concrete evidence to support any extraordinary claims.
Right.
It's important to remember that just because there's increased activity and some secrecy
Yeah.
doesn't automatically mean there's a biblical conspiracy afoot.
Right. Correlation doesn't equal causation.
Exactly.
We need to be careful not to jump to conclusions.
Absolutely.
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's say for the sake of argument that this theory is true. What are the implications?
Yeah.
What would it mean if Antarctica really is a prison for these powerful beings?
Right.
And something is happening that could lead to their release?
Well, from a biblical perspective, some might interpret it as a sign of the end times.
Wow.
The book of Revelation paints a vivid picture of what might happen if these entities are unleashed upon the world.
Yeah.
Chaos, destruction, a battle between good and evil.
A rather bleak outlook, to say the least.
Yeah.
But we've also touched on the idea that their release could serve a divine purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps not for destruction, but for judgment or even redemption.
It's an intriguing thought, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe it's not about the end of the world,
Right.
but a spiritual awakening,
Mm-hmm.
a test of humanity's faith in the face of the unimaginable.
There are so many different ways to interpret this,
Yeah.
both within a biblical framework and outside of it.
Absolutely.
But even if we set aside the theological implications for a moment,
Okay.
what about the more practical concerns? What happens if the melting ice in Antarctica reveals something we weren't prepared for?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
As the ice recedes, we could uncover all sorts of things.
Like what?
Ancient artifacts, lost civilizations,
Wow.
maybe even potentially dangerous pathogens that have been frozen for millennia.
So even without factoring in the fallen angels,
Yeah.
there's a lot to consider
A lot.
when it comes to what might be hidden beneath the ice.
Absolutely.
It sounds like Antarctica has the potential to rewrite our understanding of history.
It really does.
And maybe even pose some serious challenges to our future.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that the past is never truly gone,
That's true.
and that the choices we make today
Yeah,
can have ripple effects far into the future.
that's a good point.
We might not be able to control what's buried beneath the ice,
Right.
but we can control how we respond to what we discover.
Okay, so we've delved into this fascinating theory linking Antarctica to the biblical accounts of fallen angels and Nephilim. We've examined the evidence from ancient texts and geological data
Right.
and considered the potential implications,
Yeah.
both in terms of prophecy and scientific discovery.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the most crucial takeaway for our listeners?
I think it all boils down to the importance of critical thinking.
Yeah.
When we're faced with extraordinary claims,
Right.
especially those rooted in ancient texts or speculation,
Mm-hmm.
we need to approach them with healthy skepticism.
It's true.
That doesn't mean dismissing them outright,
Right.
but it does mean asking tough questions,
Yeah.
examining the evidence, and considering different perspectives.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Think.
It's so easy to get swept up in a captivating narrative.
It is.
But we need to remember to engage our critical thinking skills and avoid drawing conclusions based on speculation or assumptions.
Exactly. This theory, whether you believe it or not, forces us to confront our own beliefs,
It does.
our understanding of history, and our place in the universe. And it reminds us that there's still so much we don't know about our planet
Yeah.
and the forces that have shaped it.
It also highlights the power of storytelling.
It does.
Whether it's ancient myths or modern conspiracy theories,
Right?
we're drawn to narratives that help us make sense of the world,
We are.
especially when the world feels chaotic or unpredictable.
Absolutely. Stories help us connect the dots,
Yeah.
create meaning,
Mm-hmm.
and grapple with the big questions of existence.
Yeah.
And in the case of Antarctica,
Right.
the mystery surrounding the continent
Yeah.
provides fertile ground for all sorts of narratives,
It does.
both scientific and speculative.
Speaking of those recent events in Antarctica,
Yeah.
do they ultimately support or challenge this theory of fallen angels and Nephilim?
It's hard to draw a definitive conclusion.
I bet.
We know there's increased activity,
Yeah.
but the motivations behind it are often shrouded in secrecy.
Right.
It's like a giant puzzle with some of the pieces missing.
Right.
Are governments hiding something, or are we simply projecting our own fears and anxieties onto this blank canvas?
It seems like everyone sees what they want to see in Antarctica.
They do.
It becomes a mirror reflecting our own beliefs and fascinations.
Yeah.
But even if we set aside the question of fallen angels,
Right.
I think we can all agree that Antarctica is a place of profound wonder and mystery.
Without a doubt, it's a continent of extremes.
It is.
The coldest, windiest, driest place on Earth.
Wow.
And yet beneath that harsh exterior lies a hidden world waiting to be explored.
And as the ice continues to melt, who knows what secrets might be revealed.
I don't know.
It's both exhilarating and a little bit unsettling to think about the possibilities.
It is.
It's a powerful reminder that we still have so much to learn about our planet.
Absolutely.
The past can always surprise us,
No.
and the future is full of unknowns.
Lots of unknowns.
Well said.
Thanks.
I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought,
I hope so.
and maybe even sparked your own curiosity about Antarctica and the secrets it holds. Yeah.
If this theory has piqued your interest, we encourage you to keep exploring the topic
Please do.
and draw your own conclusions.
Yes.
Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to unlock the mysteries of this frozen continent.
Maybe.